Hello! Hello, everyone. My goodness, hello. Oh my gosh. We were a bit close today. We were almost late. We were almost late today. Hey, but we made it. We made it in time. I was dealing with some dark elves. But we made it. That's the important bit, right? That's the important bit. Hello, Desu, of course, pre-notification gang for you, all the way, left, right and centre. Hello, Secret Ninjam. Welcome in, thank you. Thank you so much for that follow. Welcome to the Grove, we're happy to have you. Hello, Tiny, of course. Hello, Lauren. Hello. Oh my gosh. Hello, Kionest. Hello, Goat. Hello, White Cobble. Hello, Slampoyer sister. Welcome in. It's nice to see you. Shadow Seeds, you've reclaimed your Warframe account. Heck yes. I'm so excited. I'll have to hook up with you and get you into the Grove on Warframe. That option is open to anyone else that would like to play Warframe as well. Hello, Glued Motherboard. Hello, Cyan Drago. Hello, Wraithy Girly. It's so nice to see you guys. Hello, Darth. Welcome back. Welcome back. And Slampoyer sister. There's always time for tea. Indeed, there is. I shall take care of that right now. Yum. We have a lovely, super strong Irish breakfast tea tonight. That's what we're on tonight. Just super strong. 3 bags. 3 tea bags for this 1 cup of tea today. Yeah, that's right. We're on the strong stuff. What? 71. 71%. You know what? I don't even have words. I don't even have words. It scared you. Well, I'm sorry that it scared you, Couple. I'm so sorry. What? Damn it, Darth! Oh my gosh. 73. Alright, for real, you guys. For real. Who's running the black market in channel seeds? Who's doing it? I just want to have a nice little chat. That's it. Nothing major, just a nice little chat. Nice little chat. You know, just let me know. Let me know. You can send me a message. You don't even have to say so in open chat. No one has to know it was you. No one has to know it was you. It's a confidential reporting system. You have successfully shared pay. Well, thank you. Wonder, thank you. Thank you so much for those 10 gemstones. I appreciate it. Thank you. So you guys, let's get to the question of the day, because I'm excited for today's stream. I really and truly am. So, question of the day first. And today's question of the day, very simple one. What is the best flavour of Doritos? What's the best flavour of Doritos? What is it? Classic nacho, no contest. Fair enough. Cool Ranch from both Tiny and Slampoyer. Oh, it looks like Cool Ranch is pulling ahead there. The nacho cheese, the classic Handstein. That's right. So you guys don't like any of the weird, like the newer flavours that they're coming out with? You know, like the chili lime, or was it the spicier nacho, flaming hot, all of those? Hello, Brandon. Hello, mate. It's good to see you. It's great to see you. You're on the Discord. Where do you sign up? Well, now that you're on the Discord, you're going to have to agree to the rules that are on the Discord. Assassin Boy, thank you. Thank you so much for that heist. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate it. So you have to agree to the rules on the Discord in order to unlock access to the rest of the Discord. From there, you'll find a channel somewhere. Or did we pull it down? We pulled it down. We pulled the mod application channel. Where are we working the mod application? The new one will be up tomorrow. The new one will be up tomorrow. I'm so sorry about that. So sorry about that. I'll get it up there tomorrow for you. But don't worry, it's not like something that, you just apply and we accept. You have to go through that whole process. The head mod is going to grill you. She's going to ask you all kinds of uncomfortable questions. Like, what's your favourite type of sandwich? The big important issues. The big important things that we need to know about you. But there is an interview process if you're looking to become a moderator. We'll get you that application just as soon as it's posted again tomorrow. Sorry about that. You thought the applications were closed? No, we just wanted to rework the application because we decided to restructure a little bit. We decided to restructure the mod team just a little bit. So we had to fix the mod application to reflect that. Hello, Leo. Welcome in. It's good to see you. It's good to see you there. Are we talking sub sandwiches or house sandwiches? Any kind of sandwich. Any kind of sandwich, because that could include a panini as well. Like I said, these are the important questions. We need to know about you and your sandwich preferences. So I still can't be a mod. Well, you have to interview with the head mod first. Why, Cobble? You have to interview with the head mod first. If I just gave you a mod out of nowhere, she'd have me head. She'd have me head. She's in control of the mods, not me. Not me. I'm not in charge of anything here. Who is that? That'd be Tiny Gay Hero. That'd be Tiny Gay Hero's head of the mod team there. That's our head mod. She's in charge of everything. I'm just here to look pretty and sound Irish. Which are really just my only two skills, to be perfectly honest with you. So it's a good thing that 90% of my audience is here just for the sound of my voice. It's really convenient. Works out. It's a good system we got going. So you guys, today is our first official day doing Morbidity and Mythos Mondays. And I am super excited about this. I am super excited about this. I have a lovely, wonderful story all picked out. Wonderful plot twist. Tiny actually runs the channel and Paegan is just a representative. I mean, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. You know how Hololive does things where they just hire someone to move the model and do the acting? That's kind of what's going on here. She's the brains of the operation. I'm just the beauty. I'm just the beauty. Durf, thank you. Thank you so much for that frivolity. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. That's so kind of you. Now the question, is today Mythos Monday or Morbid Monday? Well, we think it's just a little bit of both. A little bit of both. It's a little bit of a creepy tale. It's a story that has a lot of lore involved with some mythos and such. The author is very, very famous and I think we're going to enjoy it. So tonight, for our very first Mythology and Mythos Monday, we are going to get raided by Mr. Rumble Roses. Hello! Hello, Rumble. Hello, welcome in and thank you so much for that raid. How are you? How was your stream? Welcome in, raiders. Hello to all of the Rumble Maniacs. It's so nice to see you. And I am just going to have a cup of tea in your honour right now. Kim. And I'm just going to put my teacup right here. I'm sure absolutely nothing bad will happen with that. I'm sure absolutely nothing bad will happen. How was your stream, Rumble? How did it go? Did you have a good Monday stream? You're playing some more Doom Final. Oh, that is awesome. I'm going to have to check out the VOD later. I'm definitely going to have to check out the VOD later. Alright, so I'm going to try you for the third time now to let you know what we're going to be reading today. Today, we are going to just dive right in and get our feet wet. It's H.P. Lovecraft. That's right, we're going to be doing some Lovecraftian horror today. It seemed like a good place to start, and I am very excited about it. So, when it comes to the reading, we're going to disable a lot of the channel redeems. A lot of the channel redeems are going to turn off the frivolity and all of that. We don't have all the sounds getting in the way. And if you redeem any other redeems like Hydrate or anything like that, I will complete them at the end of the reading, unless it's a Hydrate and I need one in the middle. So, if you guys have any redeems that you would like to get out of your system, now is the time. Now is the time. I'm going to be going through right now and turning a ton of them off. So that way we can do our deal. You like Lovecraftian horror? Good. Good. I'm glad. I thought a lot of people like Lovecraft. And you know, I think a lot of people would like Lovecraft, but they have not properly been exposed to actual Lovecraft. Really just more things that claim they're Lovecraftian. Hello, Iro. Hello, Iro. Welcome in. It's so good to see you. And there's always time from tea for Lauren. Thank you. Oh, you shall take care of that right now. Yum. And Darth, I'm going to read you a whole story, and it's not enough. It's not enough. You want a familiarity as well. Alright, here we go. I'll tell you a story about Jack and McCurry, and now my story's begun. I'll tell you another about Jack and his brother, and now my story is all done. There you go. There is your old familiar tale from my childhood. I hope it was everything you wanted. I hope it's everything you thought it would be. Hello, Sir Crimson Noisebane. Hello, mate. Welcome in. Thank you so much for stopping by. Lovecraft intrigues me, but I'm more of a Poe kind of girl. I also really enjoy Poe. I do. I really enjoy Poe. But you know, there's plenty more Morbidity and Mythos Mondays to come. So I'm sure at some point we'll probably get to some Poe. But we're going to start with some H.P. Lovecraft. We are. Alright, you guys. So just one quick reminder. As I'm reading the story, I most likely am not going to be replying to the chat because I'm going to be reading the story. So just keep that in mind. Queer Mermaid, thank you. Thank you so much for resubscribing that 2 months. Thank you. That is so kind of you. That is amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you. And it's good to see you. Welcome in. My day is going quite well, Assassin Boy. Thank you. How is your day going? I hope your day's going quite well. I really do. Of course, I always hope that you guys' days are going well. I like when you guys have nice days. So I am just taking a moment here really quickly to mute all of our alerts so that way they're not going off in the middle of our story time so that we can get properly engrossed in this story. I hope you guys will like it. It's one of my all-time favourite Lovecraft stories. It should last us quite a while today. I expect it to go for quite a bit of time. But yes, We're going to Lovecraft. No worries, Slampoyer sister. No worries at all. Thank you so much for stopping by. I hope the rest of your night goes really well. Take care. Take care. All right. Let's do it. Let's set the mood. What do you think? Shall we set the mood? Let's set the mood. Here we go. So today we are going to be reading The Silver Key by H.P. Lovecraft. A wonderful, wonderful tale. And I hope you enjoy it. So, here we go. When Randolph Carter was 30, he lost the key to the Gate of Dreams. Prior to that time, he had made up for the prosiness of life. Nightly excursions to strange and ancient cities beyond space, and lovely, unbelievable garden lands across ethereal seas. And as a middle-aged hardened upon him, he felt those liberties slipping away, little by little, until at last he was cut off altogether. No more could his galleys sail up the river like an ice, past the gilded spires of the Thran, or his elephant caravans tramp through perfumed jungles in Cled, where forgotten places with veined ivory columns sleep lovely and unbroken under the moon. He had read much of things as they are, and talked with too many people. Well-meaning philosophers had taught him to look into the logical relations of things and analyse the processes which shaped his thoughts and fancies. Wonder had gone away, and he had forgotten that all life is only a set of pictures in the brain, among which there is no difference betwixt those born of real things and those born of inward dreamings, and no cause to value the one above the other. Custom had dinned into his ears a superstitious relevance, for which tangibly and physically exists, and had made him secretly ashamed to dwell in visions. Wise men had told him his simple fantasies were inane and childish, and even more absurd, because their actors persist in fancying them full of meaning and purpose, as the blind cosmos grind aimlessly on, from nothing to something, from something back to nothing again, neither heeding nor knowing the wishes or existence of the minds that flicker, for a second now, and then in the darkness. They had chained him down to things that are, and had explained the workings of those things till mystery was gone from the world. And when he complained, and longed to escape into the twilight realms, where magic moulded all the little vivid fragments and prized associations in his mind into vistas of breathless expectancy and unquenchable delight, they turned him toward the newfound prodigies of science, bidding him to wonder in the atom's vortex and mystery of the sky's dimensions. And when he failed to find those boons and things whose laws are known and miserable, they told him he lacked imagination and was immature because he preferred dream illusions to the illusions of our physical creation. So Carter had tried to do as many others did, and pretended that the common events and emotions of earthly minds were more important than the fantasies of rare and delicate souls. He did not dissent when they told him that the animal pain of a stuck pig or a deceptive ploughman in real life is a greater thing than the peerless beauty of Narath, with its 100 cavern gates and domes, which he dimly remembered from his dreams. But under their guidance, he cultivated a painstaking sense of pity and tragedy. Once in a while, though, he could not help seeing how shallow, fickle, and meaningless all human aspirations are, and how emptily our real impulses contrast with those pompous ideals we profess to hold. Then we would have recourse to the polite laughter that had taught him to use against the extravagance and artificiality of dreams, for he saw that the daily life of our world is every inch as extravagant and artificial, and far less worthy of respect because of its poverty and beauty, and its silly reluctance to admit its own lack of reason and purpose. In this way, he became a kind of humorist, for he did not see even humour as empty in a mindless universe devoid of any true standard of consistency or inconsistency. In the first days of his bondage, he had turned to the gentle churchly faith endeared to him by the native trust of his fathers, for thence stretched mystic avenues which seemed to promise escape from life. Only on closer view did he mark the starved fancy and beauty, the stale and prosy triteness, and the owlish gravity and grotesque claims of solid truth which reigned boresomely and overwhelmingly amongst most of its professors, or feel the full awkwardness with which it sought to keep alive its literal fact, the outgrown of fears and guesses of a primal race confronting the unknown. It wearied Carter to see how solemnly people tried to make earthly reality out of old myths, which every step of their boasted science confuted. This misplaced seriousness killed the attachment he might have kept for the ancient creeds, had they been content to offer the sonorous rites and emotional outlets in their true guise of ethereal fantasy. But when they come to study those who had thrown off the old myths, he found them even more ugly than those who had not. They did not know what beauty lies in harmony, and that loveliness of life has no standard amidst the nameless cosmos, only save its harmony with the dreams and the feelings which have gone before and blindly moulded our little spheres out of the rest of chaos. They did not see that good and evil, and beauty and ugliness are only ornamental fruits of perspective, whose sole value lies in their linkage to what chance made our fathers think and feel, and whose finer details are different for every race and culture. Instead, they either denied these things altogether, or transferred them to the crude, vague instincts which they shared with the beasts and peasants, so that their lives were dragged melodiously out in pain, ugliness, and disproportion, yet filled with ludicrous pride at having escaped from something no more unsigned than that which still held them. They had traded the false gods of fear and blind piety for those of license and anarchy. And among us, there's always time for tea. Thank you. Yum. And darkness, shadow, and among us, thank you. Thank you so much for those follows. Welcome to the Grove. Carter did not taste deeply of these modern freedoms, for their cheapness and squalor sickened a spirit loving beauty alone, while his reason rebelled at the flimsy logic with which their champions tried to glib brute impulse with sacredness stripped from the idols they had discarded. He saw that most of them, in common with their cast-off priestcraft, could not escape from the delusion that life has a meaning apart from that which men dream into it, and could not lay aside the crude notion of ethics and obligations beyond those of beauty, even when all nature shrieked of its unconsciousness and impersonal unmorality in the light of their scientific discoveries. Warped and bigoted with preconceived illusions of justice, freedom, and consistency, they cast off the old lore and the old way with the old beliefs, nor ever stopped to think that the lore and those ways were sole markers of their present thoughts and judgments, and the sole guides and standards in a meaningless universe without fixed aims or stable points of reference. Having lost these artificial things, their lives grew void of direction and dramatic interest, till at length they strove to drown in bustle and pretended usefulness, noise and excitement, barbaric display and animal sensation. When these things palled, disappointed, or grew nauseous through revulsion, they cultivated tyranny and bitterness, and found fault with the social order. Never could they realise that their brute foundations were as shifting and contradictory as the gods of their elders, and that the satisfaction of one moment is the pain of the next. Calm, lasting beauty comes only in a dream, and the solace the world had thrown away in its worship of the real, it threw away the secrets of childhood and innocence. Amidst the chaos of hollowness and unrest, Carter tried to live as befitted a man of keen thought and good heritage. His dreams fading under the ridicule of the age, he could not believe in anything, but the love of harmony kept him close to the ways of his race and station. He walked impassive through the cities of men, and sighed because no vista seemed fully real, because every flash of yellow sunlight on tall roofs, and every glimpse of bastardized plazas in the first lamps of evening served only to remind him of dreams he had once known, and to make him homesick for ethereal lands he no longer knew how to find. Travel was only a mockery, and even the Great War stirred him a little, but though he served from the first in the Foreign Legion of France, for a while he sought friends, and soon grew weary of the crudeness of their emotions, and the sameness and earthiness of their visions. He felt vaguely glad that all of his relatives were distant and out of touch with him, for they would not have understood his mental life. That is, none but his grandfather and great-uncle Christopher could, and they were long dead. Then he began once more the writing of books, which he had left off when dreams first failed him. But here too was there no satisfaction or fulfilment, for the touch of earth was upon his mind, and he could not think of lovely things as he had done of yore. Ironic humour dragged down all the twilight marionettes he reared, and the early feel of improbability blasted all the delicate and amazing flowers of his fairy gardens. The convention of assumed pity split mawkishness on his characters, while the myth of an important reality and significant human events and emotions debased all of his high fantasy into a thin-veiled allegory and cheap social satire. His novels were as successful as his old ones had been, and because he knew how empty they must be to please an empty herd, he burned them and ceased his writing. They were very graceful novels, in which he urbanely laughed at the dreams he lightly sketched, but he saw that their sophistication had sapped all of their life away. It was after this that he cultivated deliberate illusion and dabbled in notions of the bizarre and the eccentric as an antidote to the commonplace. Most of these, however, soon showed their poverty and bareness, and he saw that the popular doctrines of occultism are as dry and inflexible as those of science, yet without even the slender palliative of truth to redeem them. Gross stupidity, falsehood, and muddled thinking are not a dream, and form no escape from life to a mind trained above their own level. So Carter bought stranger books and sought out deeper and more terrible men of fantastic erudition, delving into the arcana of consciousness that few have trod, and learning things about the secret pits of life, legend, and immemorial antiquity which disturbed him ever afterward. He decided to live on a rarer plane, and furnished his Boston home to suit his changing moods. One room for each, hung in appropriate colours, furnished with befitting books and objects, and provided with sources for the proper sensations of light, heat, sound, taste, and odour. Once he heard of a man in the south who had shunned and feared the blasphemous things he read in prehistoric books and clay tablets smuggled from India and Arabia. Him he visited, living with him and sharing his studies for 7 years, till horror overtook them one midnight in an unknown and archaic graveyard. The only one emerged where 2 had entered. Then he went back to Arkham, the terrible, witch-haunted old town of his forefathers in England, and had experiences in the dark, amidst the hoary willows and tottering bramble roofs, which made him seal forever certain pages of the diary in a wild-minded ancestor. But these horrors took him only to the edge of reality, and were not of the true dream country he had known in his youth. For that at 50 he despaired of any rest or contentment in a world grown too busy for beauty and too shrewd for dreams. Having perceived at last the hollowness and futility of real things, Carter spent his days in retirement and in wistful, disjointed memories of his dream-filled youth. He thought it rather silly that he bothered to keep on living at all, and got from a South American acquaintance a very curious liquid to take him to oblivion without suffering. Inertia and force of habit, however, caused him to defer action, and he lingered indecisively amongst thoughts of old times, taking down the strange hangings from his walls and refitting the house as it had been in his early boyhood. Purple panes, Victorian furniture, and all. And we are getting raided. A lime window! A lime window, thank you. Thank you so much for that raid. Welcome. Welcome in. Welcome to the grave. I hope you guys had a wonderful, wonderful stream. Today is Morbidity and Mythos Monday, and we're just in the middle of a reading of The Silver Key by one H.P. Lovecraft. I hope you'll stick around. I hope you enjoy yourself. I'm going to have some tea, and then I'm going to keep reading. Having perceived at last the hollowness and futility of real things, Carter spent his days in retirement in a wistful, distorted memories of his dream-filled youth. He thought it rather silly that he had bothered to keep on living at all, and had got from a South American acquaintance a very curious liquid to take him to oblivion without suffering. Inertia and force of habit, perhaps, caused him to defer action, and he lingered indecisively and thought of old times, taking down the strange hangings from his walls and refitting the house as it had been in his early boyhood. Purple panes, Victorian furniture, and all. With the passage of time, he became almost glad he had lingered, for the relics of his youth and his cleavage from the world made life and sophistication seem very distant and unreal, so much so that a touch of magic and expectancy stole back into his nightly slumbers. For years, Those slumbers had known only such twisted reflections of everyday things as the commonest slumbers know. But now they returned a flicker of something stranger and wilder. Something of vaguely awesome imminence, which took the form of tensely clear pictures from his childhood days, and made him think of the little, inconsequential things that he had long forgotten. He would often awake, calling for his mother and grandmother, both in their graves a quarter of a century. Then one night, his grandfather reminded him of the key. The grey, old scholar, as vivid as in life, spoke long and earnestly of their ancient line, and of the strange visions of the delicate and sensitive men who composed it. He spoke of the flame-eyed crusader who learned wild secrets of the Saxons that held him captive, and of the first Sir Randolph Carter who studied magic when Elizabeth was queen. He spoke, too, of that Edmund Carter who had just escaped hanging in the Salem witchcraft, and who had placed in an antique box a great silver key handed down from his ancestors. Before Carter awakened, the gentle visitant had told him where to find the box, the carved oak box of archaic wonder whose grotesque lid no hand had raised for 2 centuries. In the dust and shadows of the great attic he found it, remote and forgotten in the back of a drawer of a tall chest. It was about a foot square, and its Gothic carvings were so fearful that he did not marvel no person since Edmund Carter had dared to open it. It gave forth no noise when shaken, but was mystic with the scent of unremembered spices. That it held a key was only indeed a dim legend, and Randolph Carter's father had never known such a box existed. It was bound in rusty iron, and no means was provided for working the formidable lock. Carter vaguely understood that he would find within it some key to the lost gate of dreams, but of where and how to use it, his grandfather had told him nothing. An old servant had forced the cavern lid, shaking as he did so at the hideous faces leering from the blackened wood, and at some unplaced familiarity. Indeed, wrapped in a discoloured parchment was a huge key of tarnished silver, covered with cryptical markings, but of any legible explanation there was none. The parchment was voluminous, and held only the strange hieroglyphs of an unknown tongue, written with an ancient reed. Carter recognised the characters as though he had seen on a certain papyrus scroll belonging to that terrible scholar in the south who had vanished one midnight in a nameless cemetery. The man had always shivered when he read this scroll, and Carter shivered now. But he cleaned the key and kept it by him nightly in its aromatic box of ancient oak. His dreams were meanwhile increasingly in vividness, though showing him none of the strange cities and incredible gardens of the old days, or assuming a definite cast where purpose could not be mistaken. They were calling him back along the years, with the mingled wills of all his fathers were pulling him towards some hidden and essential source. Then he knew he must go past and merge himself with the old things, and day after day he thought of the hills to the north, where the haunted Arkham, and the rushing Miskatonic, and the lonely rustic homepod of his people lay. In the brooding fire of an autumn, Carter took the remembered way past graceful lines of rolling hill and stone-walled meadow, distant fell and hanging woodland, curving road and nesting farmstead, and the crystal windings of the Mythos, crossed here and there by rustic bridges of wood or stone. At one bend, he saw the group of ancient elms along which an ancestor had oddly vanished a century and a half before, and shuddered as the wind blew meaningly through them. And there was the crumbling farmhouse of old Goody Fowler, the witch, with its little evil windows and great roof sloping nearly to the ground on the north side. He sped up his car as he passed it, and did not slacken till he had mounted the hill where his mother and his fathers before her were born, and where the old white house still looked proudly across the road at the breathlessly lovely panorama of rocky slope and verdant valley, with the distant spires of Kingsport on the horizon, and the hints of the archaic, dream-laden sea in the furthest background. €1. There's a Louis sign for tea. Thank you. Yum. Then came the steeper slope that held the old Carter place he had not seen in over 40 years. Afternoon was far gone when he reached the foot, and at the bend, halfway up, he paused to scan. The outspread countryside was golden and glorified, and the slanting floods of magic poured out by the western sun. All the strangeness and expectancy of his recent dreams seemed present in this hushed and unearthly landscape, and he thought of the unknown solitudes of other planets as his eyes traced out the violet and deserted lawns shining undulant between their tumbled walls, and clumps of fairy forest sitting off far lines of purple hills beyond hills, and their spectral wooded valley dipping down in shadow to dank and hollows where trickling waters crooned and gurgled among swollen and distorted roots. Something made him feel that motors did not belong in the realm he was speaking, so he left his car at the edge of the forest, and, putting the great key in his coat pocket, walked up the hill. Woods now engulfed him utterly, though he knew the house on a high knoll that cleared the trees except to the north. He wondered how it would look, for it had been left vacant and unattended through his neglect since the death of his strange great-uncle Christopher 30 years before. In his boyhood, he had revelled through long visits here, and had found weird marvels in the woods beyond the orchard. Shadows thickened around him, for the night was near. Once a gap in the trees opened up to the night, so he saw off across leagues of twilight meadow and spied the old congressional steeple on Central Hill in Kingsport, pink with the last flush of the day, the panes of the little round windows blazing with reflected fire. Then, when he was in the deep shadow again, he recalled with a start that the glimpse must have come from childish memory alone, since the old white church had long since been torn down to make room for the Congressional Hospital. He had read of it with interest, for the paper had told about some strange burrows or passages found in the rocky hill beneath. Through his puzzlement, a voice peaked, and he started again at his familiarity after long years. Old Benjoya Corrie, who had been his uncle Christopher's hired man, and was aged even in those far-off times of his boyhood's visits. Now he must be well over 100, but that piping voice had come from no one else. He couldn't distinguish no words, yet the tone was haunting and unmistakable. To think that old Benji should still be alive. Mr. Randy, Mr. Randy, where ye be? Do you want to scare your Aunt Marthy plumb to death? Hadn't she told you to keep an eye the place in the afternoon and get back afore dark? Randy, Ran, Dee, he's the beatin'est boy for running off in the woods I ever see. Half the time he's sitting mooning around the snake den in the upper timber lot. Hey ya! Run! Randy! Randolph Carter stopped in the pitch darkness and rubbed his hands across his eyes. Something was queer. He had been somewhere he ought not to be, and had strayed very far away to places he had not belonged, and was now inexcusably late. He had not noticed the time on the King's Park steeple, though he could easily have made it out with his pocket telescope. But he thought his lateness was something very strange and unprecedented. He was not even sure he had the little telescope with him, and put his hand in his blouse pocket to see. No, it was not there, but there was the big silver key that he had found in a box somewhere. Uncle Chris had told him something odd once, about an old, unopened box with a key in it, but Aunt Martha had stopped the story abruptly, saying it was no kind of thing to tell a child whose head was already too full of queer fantasies. He tried to recall just where he had found the key, but something seemed very confused. He guessed it was in the attic at home in Boston, and dimly remembered bribing Perks with half his week's allowance to help him open the box and keep quiet about it. But when he remembered this, the face of Perks came up very strangely, as if the wrinkles of long years had fallen upon the brisk little cockney. Randy! Randy! Hi! Hi! Randy! A swaying lantern came round the black bend. An old Benja pounced the silent and bewildered form of a pilgrim. Turn ye, boy, so there ye be. Ain't ye got no tongue in your head, that ye can't answer a body? I've been calling you for half an hour, and you must have heard me long ago. Don't you know your Auntie Myrta's all a-fidgeting in your brain being after dark? Wait till I tell your Uncle Chris when he gets home. Here out in our here woods, ain't no place to be traipsing at this hour. Nice things abroad that don't do nobody good, as my grandsir knowed me for. Come, Master Andy, or Hannah won't keep supper no longer. Sir Randolph Carter was marched up the road, while wandering stars glimmered through high autumn boughs, and dogs barked as the yellow light of small paned windows shone out of the further turn, and the pallades twinkled across the open knoll, where the great gamble roof stood black against the dim west. Aunt Martha was in the doorway, and she did not scold too hard when Benda shoved the truant in. He knew Uncle Chris well enough to expect such things of the Carter blood. Randolph did not show his key, but ate his supper in silence, and protested only when bedtime came. He sometimes dreamed better when awake, and he wanted to use that key. In the morning, Randolph was up early, and would have run off to the upper timber lot if Uncle Chris had not caught him and forced him into his chair by the breakfast table. He looked impatiently along the low-pitched room with a rag carpet and exposed beams and corner posts, and smiled only when the orchard boughs scratched at the leaded panes of the rear window. The trees and the hills were close to him, and formed the gates of that timeless realm which was his true country. Then, when he was free, he felt in his blouse pocket for the key, and, being reassured, slipped off across the orchard to the rise above, where the wooded hill climbed again to heights above even the treeless knoll. The floor of the forest was mossy and mysterious, with great lichened rocks rose vaguely here and there in the dim light, like druid monoliths among the swollen and twisted trunks of a sacred grove. Once in his ascent, Randall crossed a rushing stream, whose falls a little way off sang runic incantations to the lurking fauns and apagans and dryads. Then he came to a strange cave in the forest slope, the dreaded Snake Town, with the country folks shunned, and a way from which Benja had warned him again and again. It was deep, far deeper than anyone Randolph suspected, for the boy had found a fissure in the furthermost black corner that led to a loftier grotto beyond, a haunting, spectral place whose granite walls held a curious illusion of conscious artifice. On this occasion, he crawled in as unusual lighting lit the way, with matches flit from the sitting room match safe and edging through the final crevasse with an eagerness hard to explain, even to himself. He could not tell why he approached the further wall so confidently, or why he instinctively drew forth the great key as he did so. But on he went, and when he danced back to the house that night, he offered no excuses for his lateness, nor heeded the last reproofs he gained for ignoring the noontime dinner horn altogether. Now, it is agreed by all the distant relatives of Randall Carter that something occurred to heighten his imagination in his 10th year. His cousin, Ernest B. Aspinwell, Esquire, of Chicago, is fully 10 years his senior, and distinctly recalls a change in the boy in the autumn of 1883. Randolph had looked on scenes of fantasy which few others can ever hope have beheld, and stranger still were some of the qualities which he showed in relation to very mundane things. He seemed, in fine, to have picked up an old gift of prophecy, and reacted unusually to things which, at the time without meaning, were later found to justified the singular impressions. In subsequent decades, as new inventions, new names, and new events appeared one by one in the book of history, people would now and then recall, wonderingly, how Carter had years before let fall some careless word of undoubted connection with which was still then far off in the future. He did not himself understand half these words, and knew why certain things made him feel certain emotions, but fancied that some unremembered dream must be responsible. It was as early as 1897 when he turned pale, and some traveller mentioned the French town of Blois-en-Saint-Jean, and friends remembered it when he was almost mortally wounded there in 1916, while serving the Foreign Legion of the Great War. Carter's relatives talked much of these things, because he was lately disappeared. His little servant Perks, who for years bore patiently with his vagaries, last saw him on the morning he drove off alone in his car with a key that he had recently found. Perks had helped him get the key from the old box containing it, and had felt strangely affected by the grotesque carvings on the box, and by some odd quality that he could not name. When Carter left, he said that he was going to visit his old ancestral home around Arkham. Halfway up Elm Mountain, on the way to the ruins of the Carter place, they found his motor set carefully by the roadside, and in it a box of fragrant wood with carvings that frightened the countrymen who stumbled on it. The box held only a queer parchment whose characters no linguist or paleographer has been able to decipher or identify. Rain had long effaced any possible footprints, though Boston investigators had something to say about evidences of disturbances among the fallen timbers of the Carter place. It was, they averred, as though someone had groped through the ruins at no distant period. A common white handkerchief found among forest rocks in the hillside beyond cannot be identified as belonging to the missing man. There is a talk of appropriating Randolph Carter's estate amongst his heirs, but we stand firmly against this curse, because I do not believe that he is dead. There are twists of time and space, of vision and reality, which only a dreamer can divine. And from what I know of Carter, I think he was merely found a way to traverse these mazes. Whether or not he will ever come back, I cannot say. He wanted the lands of the dream he had lost, and learned for the days of his childhood. Then he found a key, and I somehow believe he was able to use it to strange adventure. I shall ask him when I see him, for I expect to meet him shortly in a certain dream city we both used to haunt. It is rumoured in Ulthar, beyond the river sky, that a new king reigns on the opal throne of VOD. That fabulous town of turrets atop the hollow cliffs of glass, overlooking the Twilight Sea, wherein the bearded and funny Nyari build their singular labyrinths. And I believe I know how to interpret this rumour. Certainly, I look forward impatiently to the sight of the great silver key, in all its cryptical markings, where may stand symbolised all the aims and mysteries of blindly impersonal cosmos. There we go. There's our story for the day. What did you guys think? Do you like Lovecraft? It's a spooky RPG. It's not actually an RPG though. It's not actually an RPG, it's just a story. It's just a story. Well, thank you. Thank you. Have you ever heard of Call of Cthulhu? I have. I have indeed. And I think there is a game called Call of Cthulhu. And I think after we finish our playthrough of Life is Strange, it might be next on our list. It might just be next on our list. That was amazing. Well, thank you. Thank you so much. I'm glad you guys liked it. I'm glad you guys liked it. Hello, Paegan. Alright, let me catch up with all the things that happened while I was reading. Siren, thank you for that follow. Thank you so much. And Paegan, there is in fact always time for tea. Are you going to play Call of Cthulhu? I would like to. And I think after we finish Life is Strange, I would very much like to play Call of Cthulhu. I really would. I think it would be wonderful. I think it would be great. Is it a good game? So what do you usually read for Spooky Stories Night? I don't actually have a usual. I actually write stories myself and I have some that I'm working on, but until those ones are done, pretty much just things that I could find, Creative Commons, creepypastas, public domain, that sort of thing. If you are, however, I know some of you out there are SCP fans. You guys, I know some of you really like SCP. We happen to know a streamer who very shortly is going to be starting doing some SCP readings. A wonderful, wonderful voice. I am sure these readings are going to be fantastic. They've been in the works for quite some time and he's getting so close to debuting these. I'm so excited. Yes, SCP. Can we get a shout out in chat please for Rogan Breaker? Rogan Breaker is the one who's working on some creepy SCP stuff that I know some of you guys really like. So toss him a follow. toss them a follow. Make sure you're there for those. I'm sure they're going to be marvellous when they come out. And, you know, give you some time to get to know him before he starts doing the readings. Speaking of SCP, I did a lot of voice actor stuff for another SCP tuber, and I'm very proud of my most recent work. That is awesome. That is awesome. That is fantastic. Oh my god, Ed Sheeran. Where? Where's Ed Sheeran? What? How's my hair? Does my hair look okay? Hello, Brigitte. Or is it Bridget? Brit? No, that's not Brit. There's an ID. Bridget? Bridget is your name? Apex wasn't Shad stream, but it crashed. No worries, Apex. Welcome in. It's good to see you. It's good to see you. Hello, have a crooked grin, and thank you so much for those 100 gemstones. I really appreciate it. Alright, let's see. There's 2 creepypastas I recall I'd like you to read. One of them's rather long, though if I may leave them as suggestions in Discord for a later date. So when it comes to that half crooked grin, it's going to depend where you got the creepypasta from. Because if it's on a place that's hosted with a Creative Commons license, then absolutely, I have no problem reading it for you. But if it's not, then that means someone holds the copyright to that creepypasta. And you have to get permission from that person to read it, which wouldn't be an issue except for the fact that sometimes tracking down the person, like the original person who wrote something when it comes to creepypastas, that get reposted over and over and over again, it's hard to find who the original writer is. And I would be really uncomfortable with reading something that I didn't have permission to read. But if it's a public domain work or something like that, or like I said, if it's a creepypasta that is written under Creative Commons, or if you write stories yourself, if you'd like to write a story yourself, we can make a place in the Discord for you guys to submit things that you'd like me to read. I have no problem doing that. I think it's a great idea. It'll give us things to go about on Wednesdays for our creepy Wednesday days, or our mythology days, because we do both mythology and the creep factor here. And it's scary as shit. Subnautica is. I've never actually played Subnautica before. I never have. Scarlet! Oh my gosh, we're getting raided! Oh my goodness! Hello! Hello, Scarlet! Hello, raiders! Hello, and welcome in! Welcome in! It's so nice to see you! How was your stream? How was it? I'm going to have a cup of tea in your honour. And I'm just going to place this cup of tea right here. I'm sure absolutely nothing bad will happen. I'm sure nothing bad will happen with that whatsoever. Whatsoever. Mob came and Deadman Zach, thank you. Thank you so much for those follows. Welcome to the Grove. I like these nuts. I have a feeling like you might be a bot. But either way, thank you for that follow and welcome to the Grove. Welcome in. It's good to see you. Ah! Damn it, Shadow Seeds! How was the campaign, Scarlet? How did it go? I hope it went well. I really do. So, you guys. Shretin, thank you. Thank you so much for that follow. Welcome to the Grove. And Tristan Television, thank you. Thank you so much. It's awesome. I'm actually one step closer to my fairy girlfriend. I mean, one step closer to solving the mystery. Awesome! And hey, nothing wrong with a fairy girlfriend. So today is our Morbidity and Mythos Monday. Morbidity and Mythos Monday. We just read through a lovely tale by one H.P. Lovecraft, and there's always time for tea. Indeed there is. Thank you. Hi, you're new. Hello, Archer. Hello and welcome in. It's nice to see you. Very nice to see you. So we just read through a story from H.P. Lovecraft. Would you guys like to do one more? What are you guys feeling? Do we want to do one more story? Another one, of course, by Lovecraft. More story. We will read another one if you guys would like. If you guys would like, we can. Another one, alright, we shall do another one. But I need just a moment because I am out of tea. I am out of tea, chat. It's a travesty. It's an absolute travesty. You're going to sleep like a baby. Archer, thank you. Thank you so much for that follow. And Tarantula? There we go, Tarantula. Tarantula, thank you. Thank you so much for that follow. Welcome to the Grove. Alright, guys, I'm going to pop out right quick, grab some more tea, and then we shall do another story from H.P. Lovecraft. Hello there. Hello, everyone. It's good to see you all still here. I have some tea. Crisis has been averted. We don't need to lose our heads. What's going on with our title? There we go. There's our title. So this is another Lovecraft story. This one's a little bit shorter, and a little bit more chaotic. But it's a very good story. And I'm excited to share it with you. What? Thunder, thank you. Thank you so much for those gifted subs. I really appreciate it. Thank you. That's so kind of you. That's so kind of you. Oh God, Thunder's back at it again. He is back at it. This man is insane. This absolute mad lad. But hey guys. If you break me, I cannot read the story. Alright? Just a little heart to heart here. If you break me and make me ugly cry, I can't read the story. Right? Right? Right. So let's not break me, so that way I can read the story. Break the fate after the story. Win-win. This does not seem quite fair. This does not seem quite fair. It feels like I lose in both ways. Let me just read you a story so you can make me cry later. I see how you guys are. Hello, nice colour Nova. Welcome in, mate. It's good to see you. Hello. And hello, Muherdin. How do you procure a manual as to ensure no breakage? I do not know. Alright guys, so just as a reminder, when I start reading the story, I'm not going to be looking at chat so much, because obviously I'm going to be reading a story. If you have any redeems that you'd like to get done and out of the way now, please feel free to redeem those. If you redeem them during the story, I will handle them after the story is over, with the exception of there's always time for tea, which I'll just take when I need something to drink. I've already told you that I was reading spooky stories. I am. We're reading some HP Lovecraft tonight. Which is beautiful. Hello, DM Chaos. Hello, mate. Welcome in. Nice to see you. So we're just about to start our second tale, and this one is called The Moonbog. I quite like this one. It's a bit different from the last one that we did. It's a bit different from the Silver Key, but it still has a very good quality to it, and I think you guys are going to enjoy it. DM Chaos, you too. I tell you, I'm going to sit here and read a story for you, and everyone's all like, oh yeah, you know what, one story is not enough. I want a familiarity as well. Greedy! You're just greedy with the stories is what you are. But alright, DM Chaos, a familiarity for you. I'll tell you a story about Jack and McGarry. Now my story's begun. I'll tell you another about Jack and his brother. Now my story's all done. There you go. I hope the story was everything that you ever hoped for. I hope it was. I hope you're satisfied. Alright, guys. And now, story time. Somewhere, to what remote and fearsome region I know not, Dennis Barry has gone. I was with him the last night he lived among men, and heard him screaming when that thing came to him. But all the peasants and police in County Meath could never find him or the others, though they searched long and far. And now I shudder when I hear the frogs piping in swamps, or see the moon in lonely places. I had known Dennis very well in America, where he had grown rich, and had congratulated him when he bought back the old castle by the bog, in sleepy Kildare. It was from Kildare his father had come, and it was there that he wished to enjoy his wealth amongst ancestral scenes. Men of his blood had once ruled over Kildare, and built and dwelt in the castle, but those days were very remote, so that for generations the castle had been empty and decaying. After he went to Ireland, Barry wrote me often, told me how under his care the grey castle was rising tower by tower to its ancient splendour, how the ivy was climbing slowly over the restored walls as it had climbed so many centuries ago, and how the peasants blessed him for bringing back the old days with his gold from over the sea. But in time there came troubles, and the peasants ceased to bless him, and fled away instead, as if from a doom. And then he sent a letter and asked me to visit him, for he was lonely in the castle, with no one to speak to save the new servants and labourers that he had brought from the north. The bog was the cause of all these troubles, as Barry told me the night I came to the castle. I had reached Kildare in the summer sunset, as the gold of the sky lighted the greens of the hills and groves of the blue fog, where a fair inlet, strange, golden ruin glistened spectrally. That sunset was very beautiful, but the peasants of Ballylough had warned me against it and said that Kildare had become accursed. And so I shuddered, almost to see the high turrets of the castle gilded with fire. Barry's motor had met me at the Ballylough station, for Kildare is off the railway. The villagers had shunned the car, and the driver from the north, but had whispered to me with pale faces when they saw that I was going to Kildare. And that night, after our reunion, Barry told me why. The peasants had gone from Kildare because Dennis Barry was to train the great bog. For all his love of Ireland, America had not left him untouched, and he hated the beautiful, wasted space where peat might be cut and land open up. The legends and superstitions of Kildare did not move him, and he laughed when the peasants first refused to help, and then cursed him and went away to Ballylough with their few belongings, as they saw his determination. In their place, he sent for labourers from the north, and when the servants left, he replaced them likewise. But it was lonely among strangers, so Barry had asked me to come. When I heard the fears that had driven the people from Kildare, I laughed as loudly as my friend had laughed, for those years were the vaguest, wildest, and most absurd character. It had to do with some preposterous legend of the bog, a grim guardian spirit that dwelt in the strange Holden ruin on the far islet that I had seen in the sunset. There were tales of dancing lights in the dark of the moon, and chill winds from the nights were warm, of wraiths in white hovering over the waters, and of an imagined city of stone, deep down below the swampy surface. But foremost amongst the weird fancies, and alone in its absolute unanimity, was that of the curse waiting him who would dare touch or train the vast reddish morass. There were secrets, said the peasants, which must not be uncovered. Secrets that had lain hidden since the plague came with the children of the Pelthrin in the fabulous years before history. In the Book of Invaders, it was told that these sons of the Greeks were all parried as hell, but the old men in Kildare said that one city was overlooked, saved by its patron moon goddess, so that the only wooded hills buried in when the men of Nebed swept down from Scythia in their 30 ships. Oh my gosh! Shads! Shads alive, welcome in. Thank you so much for the raid. I hope your stream was wonderful. I hope your stream was great. I really do. Just going to have some tea here. Hello everyone and welcome in. Thank you so much for that raid. I really appreciate it. It is today for us Morbidity and Mythos Monday, which means we sit here and I read a spooky story or a mythological story, and tonight we are reading some H.P. Lovecraft. We are currently just about a quarter of the way through our second tale for the night, which is The Moon Bog. CJ Fletch, thank you. Thank you so much for that follow. Welcome to the grove. And straight in, there's always time for tea. Indeed there is. Yum. Indeed it is. And no one touches the hat. Oh yeah, no, I would never touch the hat. And if you believe that, I probably have a bridge for sale. 81%. I know you guys are smashing this out of the park. You guys have been smashing this out of the park. I am so looking forward to this movie night. It's going to be absolutely wonderful. So, for those of you that has just come in from the ride, I invite you to sit down, pull up a blanket, a cup of tea, and join us in our story. Please note, if you do any redeems during the story, I'm not going to respond to them until after we're done. Unless it's there's a lowest swing per tea, in which case we will drink it when I need tea. So welcome in, you guys, and we're going to get back to our tale now. Such were the idle tales which had made the villagers leave Kildare, and when I heard them, I did not wonder that Dennis Barry refused to listen. He had, however, a great interest in antiquities, and proposed to explore through the bog thoroughly when it was drained. The white ruins on the islet he had often visited, and though their age was plainly great, and their contour very little like that in most of the rooms of Ireland, they were too dilapidated to tell the days of their former glory. Now, the work of drainage was ready to begin, and the labourers from the north were soon to strip the forbidden bog of its green moss and red heather, and kill the tiny shell-paved streamlets and quiet blue pools fringed with rushes. After Barry had told me these things, I was feeling very drowsy. The travels of the day had been wearying, and my house had talked late into the night. A manservant showed me to my room, which was in the remote tower overlooking the village, and the plain at the edge of the bog, and the bog itself, so that I could see from my windows in the moonlight the silent roofs from which the peasants had fled, and which now sheltered the labourers from north too, and the parish church with its antique spire, and far out across the brooding bog, the remote olden ruin of the islet gleaming white and spectral. Just as I dropped to sleep, I fancied that I heard faint sounds in the distance, sounds that were weird, wild, and half musical, and stirred me with a weird excitement which coloured my dreams. But when I awakened the next morning, I felt it had all been a dream, for the visions I had seen were more wonderful than any sound of wild pipes at night. Influenced by the legend that Barry had related, my mind had in slumber hovered around a stately city in a green valley, where marble streets and statues, villas and temples, carvings and inscriptions, all spoke in certain tones the glory that was Greece. When I told this dream to Barry, he had both laughed, and I had laughed louder, because he was perplexed about his labourers from the north. For the 6th time they had overslept, waking very slowly and dazedly, and acting as if they had not rested, although they were known to have gone quite early to bed the night before. That morning and afternoon, I wandered alone through the sun-gilded village and talked now and then with the idle labourers, for Barry was busy with the final plans for beginning his work of drainage. The labourers were not as happy as they might have been, for most of them seemed uneasy over some dream which they had had, yet which they tried in vain to remember. I told them of my dream, but they were not interested till I spoke of the weird sounds that I thought I had heard. They looked oddly at me, and said that they seemed to remember weird sounds too. In the evening, Barry dined with me and announced that he would begin the drainage in 2 days. I was glad, for although I disliked to see the moss and the heather and the little streams and lakes depart, I had a growing wish to discern the ancient secrets the deep matted peat might hide. And that night, my dreams of piping flutes and marble came to a sudden and disquieting end, for upon the city in the valley I saw a pestilence descend, and then a frightful avalanche of wooden slopes that covered the dead bodies in the streets, and left unburied only the temple of Artemis on the high peak, where the aged moon priestess Cleis lay cold and silent, with a crown of ivory on her silver head. I have said that I awakened suddenly and in alarm. For some time I could not tell whether I was waking or sleeping, for the sound of flutes still rang shrilly in my ears, and when I saw on the floor the icy moonbeams and the outlines of a latticed Gothic window, I decided I must be awake and in the castle of Kildare. Then I heard a clock from some remote landing between the strike of R2, and I knew that I was awake. Yet still there was that monstrous piping from afar, wild, weird airs that made me think of some dance of fauns on distant Milanus. It would not let me sleep, and in patience I sprung up and paced the floor. Only by chance did I go to the north window and look out upon the silent village and the plain at the end of the bog. I had no wish to gaze abroad, for I wanted to sleep, but the flutes tormented me, and I had to say something. How could I have suspected what I would behold? There, in the moonlight, flooded the spacious plain with a spectacle which no mortal, having seen it, could ever forget. To the sound of reedy pipes that echoed over the bog, there yielded silently and eerily a mixed throng of swaying figures, reeling through such a revel as the Sicilians might have danced to Demeter in the olden days under the harvest moon beneath the Cyan. The wide plain, the golden moonlight, the shadowy moving forms, and above all, the shrill, monotonous piping, produced an effect which almost paralysed me. Yet I noted, amidst my fear, that half of these tireless, mechanical dancers were the labourers whom I had thought asleep, whilst the other half were strange, hairy beings of white, half indeterminate in nature, but suggesting pale, wasteful naiads from the haunted mountains of the bog. I do not know how long I gazed at this sight from the lonely turret window before I dropped suddenly into a dreamless swoon, out of which the high sun of morning aroused me. My first impulse upon awakening was to communicate all of my fears and observations to Dennis Barry. We'll pause right here because we're getting raided yet again. Hello, boys. Hello, welcome in. How was your stream? Hello, raiders. Hello, it's good to see you. Don't mind me, I'm going to have a cup of tea. In your honour. How are you doing, boys? 'Tis the wizard. 'Tis the wizard, it is. 'Tis the wizard indeed. Tales of Arise is a pretty great RPG. Oh, I've not actually heard of it before. I hope it went really, really well. Normally, when we get raided, we would roll the intro for you. We'd roll out the intro and we'd welcome you in. But we're trying a bit of something new tonight. Tonight is our very first Morbidity and Mythos Monday. And we are currently reading our way through a lovely story by H.P. Lovecraft, known as The Moonbog. I hope you guys like things a little spooky, a little eerie, a little creepy. I hope that you'll enjoy yourselves and you'll have a good time. We're going to get back to our story in just a moment, but while I am reading, I'd like you to know I don't respond to redeems, except for there's always time for tea when I need to drink. If you do user a dime or something like that. I'll get to it when we finish off the story. And I also won't be responding to much that is happening in chat. But it should still be a fun time. I hope you guys enjoy it. And we're going to dive right back into our story. My first impulse upon awakening was to communicate my fears and observations to Dennis Barry, but as I saw the sunlight glowing through the latticed east window, I became sure that there was no reality in what I had seen. I am given to strange phantasms, yet I'm never weak enough to believe in them. So on this occasion, I contented myself to questioning the labourers. He slept very late and recalled nothing of the previous night save misty dreams of shrill sounds. This matter of the spectral piping harassed me greatly, and I wondered if the crickets in the autumn had come before their time to vex the night and haunt the visions of men. Later in the day, I watched Barry in the library, poring over his plans for the great work which was to begin on the morrow, and for the first time felt a touch of the same kind of fear that had driven the peasants away. For some unknown reason, I had dreaded the thought of disturbing the ancient bog and its sunless secrets, and pictured terrible sights lying black under the unmeasured depth of age-old peat. That these secrets should be brought to light seemed injustice, and I began to wish for an excuse to leave the castle and the village. I went so far as to casually talk to Barry on the subject, but did not dare continue after he gave his resounding laugh. So I was silent when the sun set brilliantly over the far hills, and Kildare blazed all red in a golden flame that seemed a portent. Whether the events of that night were of reality or illusion, I shall never ascertain. Certainly, they transcend anything we dream of in nature and the universe, yet in a normal fashion that I can explain those disappearances, which were known to all men all over. I retired early and full of dread, and for a long time could not sleep in the uncanny silence of the tower. It was very dark, for although the sky was clear, the moon was now well in wane, and would not rise till the wee hours. I thought as I lay there of Dennis Barry, and of what would befall the bog when the day came, and found myself almost frantic with an impulse to rush out into the night, take Barry's car, and drive madly to Ballylough out of these menaced lands. But before my eyes could crystallise into action, I had fallen asleep, and gazed in dreams upon the city in the valley, cold and dead, under a shroud of hideous shadow. Probably, as it was the shrill piping that awakened me, yet the piping was not what I noticed at first when I opened my eyes. I was lying with my back to the east window, overlooking the bog, where the waning moon would rise, and therefore I expected to see light cast on the opposite wall before me, and I had not looked for such a sight as now appeared. Light indeed glowed from the panels ahead, but it was not any light that the moon gives. Terrible and piercing through the shaft of ruddy refulgence that streamed through the Gothic window, and the whole chamber was brilliant with a splendour intense and unearthly. My immediate actions were peculiar for such a situation, but it is only in tales that a man does the dramatic and foreseen thing. Instead of looking out across the bog towards the source of the new light, I kept my eyes from the window in panic fear, and clumsily threw out my clothing with some dazed idea of escape. I remember seizing my revolver in my hat, but before it was over, I had lost them both without firing the one, nor donning the other. After a time, the fascination of the red radiance overcame my fright, and I crept to the east window and looked out while the maddening, incessant piping whined and reverberated through the castle and over the village. Over the bog was a deluge of flaring light, scarlet and sinister, and pouring from the strange golden rune on the far islet. The aspect of the rune I cannot describe. I must have been mad, for it seemed to rise majestic and undecayed, splendid and column-cinctured, the flame-reflecting marble of its entralbature piercing the sky like an apex of a temple on a mountain-top. Flutes shrieked, and drums began to beat, and as I watched in awe and terror, I thought I saw dark, salient forms silhouetted grotesquely against the vision of marble and effluence. The effect was titanic, altogether unthinkable, and I might have started indefinitely, but not for the sound of the piping seemed to grow stronger at my left. Trembling with a terror oddly mixed with ecstasy, I crossed the circular room to the north window, from which I could see the village and the plain at the edge of the bog. There my eyes dilated again, with a wild wonder as great as if I had not turned from a scene beyond the pale of nature. For on the ghastly red-lit plain was moving a procession of beings in such a manner as some we had never seen before in nightmares. Half gliding, half floating in the air, the white-clad boat race were slowly retreating towards the still waters, and the island rune in fantastic formations, suggesting some ancient and solemn ceremonial dance. Their waving, translucent arms, guided by the detestable piping of those unseen flutes, beckoned in uncanny rhythm to a throng of lurching labourers, who followed dog-like, with blind, brainless, floundering steps, as if dragged by a clumsy but relentless demonic will. As the naiads appeared to the bog, without altering their course, a new line of stumbling stragglers zigzagged drunkenly out of the forest for some door far below my window, gripped sightlessly across the courtyard, and through the intervening bit of the village, I joined the flowering column of labourers on the plain. Despite their distance below me, I at once knew they were the servants brought from the north, for I recognised the ugly and unwieldy form of the cook, whose very absurdness had now become unutterably tragic. The flutes piped horribly, and again I heard the beating of the drums from the direction of the island rune. Then, silently and gracefully, the naiads reached the tower and melted one by one into the solid bog, while the line of followers, never checking their speed, splashed awkwardly after them and vanished amidst a tiny vortex of wholesome bubbles. I could barely see in that scarlet light, and as the last pathetic straggler, the fat cook, sank heavily out of sight in the sullen pool, the flutes and drums grew silent, and the blinding red rays from the runes snapped instantaneously out, leaving the village of Doom lone and desolate in the wane of beams of a new risen moon. My condition was now one of the most indescribable chaos, not knowing whether I was mad or sane, sleeping or waking. I was saved only by merciful numbness. I believe I did ridiculous things, such as offering powers to Artemis, Latona, Diometer, Persephone, and Pluton. All that I recalled from a classic youth came to my lips as the horrors of the situation raised my deepest superstitions. I felt that I had witnessed the death of a whole village, and knew that I was alone in the castle with Dennis Barry, whose boldness had brought down her doom. As I thought of him, new terrors convulsed me, and I fell to the floor, not fainting but physically helpless. Then I felt the icy blast from the east window, where the moon had risen, and began to hear the shrieks of the castle far below me. Soon, those shrieks had attained a magnitude and quality which cannot be written of, and which makes me think I might think of them. All I can say is that they came from something I had known as a friend. At some time during this shocking period of cold wind, and the screaming must have aroused me, for my next impression is of racing madly through inky rooms and corridors, and out across the courtyard into this hideous night. They found me at dawn, wandering mindless near a pallybrow. But what unhinged me utterly was not any of the horrors that I had seen or heard before. I muttered about as I slowly came out of the shadows fantastic incidents that occurred in my flight. Incidents of no real significance, yet which haunt me increasingly when I'm alone in certain marshy places or in the moonlight. As I led from that accursed castle along the bog edge, I heard a new sound, common, yet unlike any I had heard before at Hildery. The stagnant waters, lately quite devoid of animal life, now teemed with a horde of slimy, enormous frogs, which piped shrilly and incessantly in tones strangely out of keeping with their size. They glistened, bloated and green in the moonbeams, and seemed to gaze up at the font of light. I followed the gaze of one very fat, very ugly frog, and saw the seconds of things which drove my senses away. Stretching directly from the strange, golden ruin on the far islet to the north waning moon, my eyes seemed to trace a beam of faint, quivering radiance, having no reflection in the waters of the bog. And upward, along the pallid path, my fevered fancy pictured a thin shadow, slightly writhing. A vague, contorted shadow, struggling as if drawn by unseen demons. Crazed as I was, I saw in that awful shadow a monstrous resemblance. A nauseous, unbelievable caricature, blasphemous effigy of he who had been Dennis Barry. There we go. There we go. Hello. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, everyone. Oh no, I forgot to turn my mood lighting off. There we go. So, how did everyone enjoy the story? Are we in a proper spooky mindset today? Was good story. Lovecraft is quite good, yes. I'm going to scroll up a little bit to see what see what some of the things are you guys were saying while I was reading. What's this about spicy voice? Spicy voices? Oh no. No. Me? Spicy Nah. Bye jabbers, that was a great story time. Why, thank you, Darkness. Thank you so much. Thank you. I really appreciate that. I really appreciate that. I am trying to do this every other Monday. Every other Monday from now on. Because you guys had said you didn't want to do it every Monday. You thought every Monday might be too much. So we're going to be doing these every other Monday. If we could find a good story, either mythology or morbidity. So you're doing morbidity and mythos Mondays. We'll make a section on the Discord, I think. If you guys have any submissions that you'd like to put in, just remember, we're not reading copyrighted things. If it's not from something that's a Creative Commons, I'm not going to read it unless I have specific permission from the author. That includes a lot of creepypastas. I know, you guys, I love creepypastas as well, but there's copyright issues there. Unless it's from a site or a Reddit forum or something like that, where the creepypasta is specifically with a Creative Commons license. You're not free to read the stories on those. You're stealing. I am, however, working on some originally written tales for you guys, because you guys seem to really enjoy the lore that I had written. So I'm working on some original tales for you for our Morbidity and Mythos stuff. Crooked Grin, thank you so much for those 10 bits. It's so kind of you. Thank you. What about Mythos SCP? I know Frogan likes those. Well, Beth, you should know better than anyone that I am not doing SCP. I am not doing SCP, but Rogan is meant to be starting SCP soon. So if you guys are into SCP and you would like that, go check out Frozen. Bayside Will, thank you. Thank you so much for those 5 gravestones. Very spooky. Very spooky. They fit right in. Thank you so much. So, I think today was a good day. I think it was a good day. We got through 2 bits of Lovecraft. Darth, I can't wait to see those tales whenever they're done. I'm quite excited for them. I have a couple that are like set and ready to go. So we'll get there. The stories themselves are done. I've just been working out some stuff with the stream, like our spoopy scene. Oh, to have a spoopy scene if you're going to be reading scary stories, right? Thank you, Beth. Thank you. Oh, you guys are so kind. You're so nice. Thank you. Alright, you guys. We do have an update. We have an update that we have to make to our sprites. We have an update. Queer Mermaid did not originally answer when it came to which sprite they would like. But we've got an answer now. We put in a placeholder sprite for them. But they would like a blue-haired own sprite. They're going to just move them over here and get their blue-haired own sprite. Nice and proper for a Queer Mermaid who has the awesome, adorable emotes that I am just so jealous of. They're so lovely. I absolutely love those. I really, truly do. There we go. A blue-haired own sprite for Queer Mermaid. We'll put you right here. Right, we'll get your name on top of you so that we can see it. There we go. And welcome nice and properly now to the Dark Elf Defense League. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. I really, truly do. For those of you whose pictures are not on the end screen yet, very simple how you get one. You can either subscribe, resubscribe, gift a sub, or if you cannot afford to do so, no worries. We have you covered there. We have channel redeems called Frivolity, which are just cheer with channel points. If you redeem the sub level of that redeem, you qualify for a sprite on our end screen, just like with gifted subs. Those are currently disabled for this stream. We turned them off so that they wouldn't be going off and making a bunch of noise during the story, but they are there. They're here. We'll have them back up on Wednesday. So let's get to our thank yous. We have so many of them. We always have so many thank yous because there's so many of you guys, which is absolutely amazing. So to all of you that are here tonight, thank you from the bottom of my little fey heart. Thank you to people that were just here to hang out. Thank you for throwing the shiny things. Thank you to our amazing murder shovel wielders who are here keeping this place running. We could not do it without you. You guys are beautiful. Thank you to everyone that followed tonight. So many new followers, and you guys, we have officially hit 800 followers this stream. Thank you. Thank you so much for that. You've no idea how much that means to me. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Thank you so much, Facehead Will, for those bits. Thank you. Thank you for those gifted subs. Thank you to everyone that subscribed or resubscribed today. You guys are absolutely awesome. I really appreciate you. For those of you that are content creators yourself, I shall see you for our weekly content creator workshop that we host on YouTube. We host that on YouTube at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So if you're a content creator yourself, definitely check that out. It's a load of fun. And for those of you that aren't coming to Tuesday tea, I shall see you right here on Wednesday for our What's Good Wednesday. Because, you know, we need our What's Good Wednesdays. What's Good Wednesdays are usually my favourite day of the week. So, let's find someone to raid, shall we? Let's find someone to raid. You know what? I don't know. I don't know if we could raid this person. But what do you guys think? You want to try? Do you want to try? I don't know if they have their raids turned off. But let's give it a go. Let's see if we can raid them. I think that would be pretty freaking cool. I think it would. This guy is really awesome. I hung out in some of his streams last night. I think he's super great. I'm not sure what he's up to, but I do know that he's been going through a bit of a tough time lately and could really use some support, use some love. So if he's not blocked raids, it would mean the world to just go in there. I know none of us really know him very well, but just to share that positivity and support that you guys share with me all the time. It would be great if you guys could do that. So let's see if the raid's going to go through. Let's see if it is. Thank you guys so much for being the amazing, awesome grove that you are. And until next time, when the grove door opens, hi, I'm Paegan O'Ceallaigh. May harmony find you.